On April 22, 2023, officers of the Beach Police Department responded urgently to a 911 call reporting a child left unattended in a residence. The call, placed by concerned neighbors who had observed the child slamming on a window from inside the house, sparked immediate concern for the child's safety and well-being. Initial response and discovery. Upon arrival at the scene, the officers approached the residence and knocked on the door, but received no response. Their apprehension heightened as they realized the seriousness of the situation, the possibility of a young child left alone in potentially hazardous conditions. With no time to waste, they decided to take action to ensure the child's safety. Body-worn camera footage captured the poignant moments as officers cautiously entered the residence. Inside, they encountered a scene that would haunt them. A child, approximately 1 to 2 years old, in a room surrounded by neglect and squalor. The child, visibly dirty and malnourished, was banging on a window, seemingly seeking attention and care that had been absent. Sergeant Johnson, one of the officers on the scene, recalled the initial moments vividly. "We found him alone in a room just banging on the window. It was heartbreaking. He looked scared, confused, but mostly desperate for someone to notice him." The room itself told a story of neglect, piles of dirty laundry, scattered toys, and a strong odor of stale food and neglect permeated the air. Flies buzzed around, adding to the dismal atmosphere. It was evident that the child had been left unattended for an extended period, his basic needs unmet. Immediate care and concerns. Despite the officers' shock at the scene, their training kicked in as they prioritized the child's immediate needs. Officer Ramirez, who carefully picked up the child, noted, "He was filthy, covered in who knows what. We had to clean him up right there." It was clear he needed medical attention beyond what we could provide. While waiting for emergency medical services, EMS, to arrive, the officers comforted the child, doing their best to clean him and ensure he felt safe. Their concern for his well-being was palpable, their voices trembling as they discussed what they found and the urgency of getting him proper medical care. "We knew he needed help fast," Officer Ramirez explained later in an interview. "It wasn't just about cleaning him up. He looked sickly, like he hadn't eaten properly in a while. His environment was not suitable for any child." Medical assessment and further action. When EMS arrived, the child was carefully transferred into their care. Paramedics conducted a thorough assessment, revealing concerning signs of neglect and possible health issues related to his living conditions. They noted malnutrition, skin conditions, and the psychological distress evident in his behavior. Dr. Emily Sanchez, the attending physician at the scene, commented on the child's condition. "He was dehydrated, malnourished, and had signs of neglect all over him. It was heartbreaking to see a child in such a state." The decision was made to transport the child to the nearest hospital for further evaluation and treatment. The officers accompanied him, ensuring he received the attention and care he desperately needed. The child's welfare became the top priority as authorities began unraveling the circumstances that led to his neglect. Investigation and legal ramifications. Simultaneously, the Beach Police Department launched a full-scale investigation into the child's living conditions and the circumstances surrounding his neglect. Initial inquiries revealed disturbing details about the child's guardians, his parents, who were nowhere to be found at the time of the incident. "We were shocked by what we found," Sergeant Johnson remarked during a press briefing. "The conditions inside that house were deplorable. No child should have to live like that." Investigators combed through the residence, documenting evidence of neglect and unsanitary conditions. They found spoiled food, piles of unwashed dishes, and signs that the child's basic needs had been neglected for an extended period. The investigation revealed a pattern of neglect, suggesting that the child had been routinely left alone in hazardous conditions. Legal proceedings swiftly followed, with law enforcement officials pursuing charges against the child's guardians for endangering his welfare. The parents, identified as Tyler and Lisa Johnson, were located and taken into custody pending further investigation and formal charges. District Attorney Rebecca Martinez, overseeing the case, expressed her dismay at the circumstances. "This is a clear case of child neglect. We will ensure that those responsible are held accountable for their actions, or lack thereof, that endangered this child's life." Child Protective Services involvement. Concurrently, Child Protective Services, CPS became involved to ensure the child's immediate and long-term safety. CPS workers, trained to handle such distressing cases, conducted their own assessment to determine the best course of action for the child's future. The goal is to provide a safe and nurturing environment for the child, stated CPS spokesperson Sarah Thompson. Our priority is his well-being and ensuring that he receives the care and support he needs to recover from this ordeal. CPS facilitated the child's placement in temporary foster care, pending further legal proceedings and a comprehensive evaluation of his parents' fitness to regain custody. The agency also provided support services to address the child's physical and emotional needs resulting from his traumatic experience. Community reaction and support. News of the neglected child spread quickly throughout the community, eliciting a mixture of shock, outrage, and concern. Neighbors who had witnessed the child's distress expressed disbelief that such neglect could occur unnoticed for so long. "I saw the child sometimes, but I didn't realize how bad things were for him," remarked Mrs. Jenkins, a neighbor. "It breaks my heart to think of what he must have gone through alone in that house." Community leaders and child advocacy groups rallied around the case, calling for justice and stricter measures to protect vulnerable children. Vigils were held in support of the child, emphasizing the need for vigilance and prompt reporting of suspected child neglect or abuse. Local officials vowed to review existing child welfare policies and strengthen community outreach efforts to prevent similar tragedies in the future. The case underscored the importance of community involvement in safeguarding children's rights and ensuring their safety. Legal and long-term implications. As legal proceedings continued, public scrutiny intensified regarding the adequacy of child protection laws and the role of social services in preventing cases of neglect. Advocates called for reforms to improve oversight and support systems for at-risk children, emphasizing early intervention and comprehensive family support services. District Attorney Martinez addressed these concerns during a press conference. "We need to do better as a community to protect our children. This case highlights the consequences of failing to intervene early when signs of neglect are present." The child's future remained uncertain as the legal process unfolded. Court hearings were scheduled to determine custody arrangements and the parents' suitability to regain custody, contingent upon their compliance with court-ordered interventions and rehabilitation efforts. Lessons learned and moving forward. In conclusion, the discovery of the neglected child by Beach Police Department officers on April 22, 2023 serves as a sobering reminder of society's obligations to protect its most vulnerable members. The incident underscored the critical roles of law enforcement, emergency responders, and community members in safeguarding children's welfare and holding negligent caregivers accountable. As the legal proceedings continued and the child received the care and support he deserved, the case remained a poignant example of the consequences of parental neglect and the resilience of communities in advocating for children's rights. It called for ongoing efforts to strengthen child protection systems, raise awareness about neglect and abuse, and promote a culture of responsibility and compassion towards all children. The neglected child's story is a call to action, a reminder that every child deserves a safe and nurturing environment in which to thrive. It is a testament to the importance of community vigilance, prompt reporting, and decisive action to prevent similar tragedies from occurring. By learning from this case and implementing necessary reforms, society can better protect its most vulnerable members and ensure that every child grows up in a loving and supportive environment.